Welcome to Major Stories for this Friday, September 2, and we begin with a weather update. The National Meteorological Center says the significant trough currently across the island is expected to remain over the next few days. This means the country can expect more rainfall. Isolated showers and thunderstorms are expected across sections of northern parishes. More showers and thunderstorms are expected across sections of eastern parishes, while scattered showers and thunderstorms are expected across sections of most parishes. This weather condition is expected to continue into Sunday. The opposition People's National Party is calling for the removal of Minister of Labour and Social Security Karl Samuda over his handling of the farm workers saga in Canada. The opposition spokesperson on Labour and Social Security, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, says more needs to be done to assist the Jamaican farm workers. In the meantime, Minister Samuda says a fact-finding team will be sent to Canada to investigate the damning claims. Belonique Bowen has that story.
Opposition spokesperson on Labour and Social Security, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, is calling for the removal of Karl Samuda as Minister of Labour and Social Security. Her call comes as the Jamaican farm workers' claims of mistreatment in Canada continues and what she describes as the minister's cavalier approach.
Based on what the minister has said around his latest release, in terms of what he's doing with that fact-finding mission, it is obvious that he has totally missed the mark. And it is obvious that we do need a change of minister, one in whom we can have confidence that the protection and defense of our workers will be safe in his hands. And Minister Samuda is not such a person.
Dr. Brown-Burke notes, though not uncharacteristic, the cavalier statements made by Minister Samuda were insensitive and disrespectful to the Jamaican farm workers in Canada. She says there is a need for the government to understand that the protection of farm workers' rights is equally important as the program protection. She says denying complaints made by the workers will create a lack of trust in government.
Knew that the Canadians had an interest in protecting the Jamaican workers. They said that from get-go. The minister didn't say that. The minister's sole concern was about saving the program and protecting the owners.
On Thursday, Minister Samuda appointed a special fact-finding team to investigate the working and living conditions of farm workers in Canada. This follows the postponement of a media conference scheduled with the minister September 1. Belonique Bowen for CVM Live.
The National Council on Drug Abuse reveals in a 2022 study that there's a prevalence of drug abuse among several Jamaican students. We have more in this report.
Research analyst at the National Council on Drug Abuse says the May 2022 Rapid Situation Assessment on Substance Use and Urgent Issues in Secondary Schools revealed that there has been a shift in the consumption habits of teen users to include substances usually associated with other countries.
Alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis were the most popular substances. Our context is changing. The context around the world is changing. New psychoactive substances are becoming much more accessible, much more popular, and being influenced, as we said before, by exposure to all kinds of different media.
Atkins disclosed that Jamaica did not have a pill-popping culture. However, the exposure to drugs like MDMA, also known as Molly, has changed their behavior. While not necessarily making a connection between elevated levels of experimentation with substances, the report also highlighted notable psychosocial changes among students.
Excessive sexualized behavior and pregnancy was another issue flagged by guidance counselors and students. It was felt that given exposure to inappropriate material, particularly through social media platforms, that this was having an influence on their behavior in the school compound currently.
The study was conducted across 13 parishes and involved 160 secondary school students from grades 8 to 10. Justin Graham reporting for CVM Live.
President of the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, Edgerton Newman, says the operators are prepared and committed for the new school year. The opposition recently raised concerns for commuters who they say will face challenges for the new school term due to a shortage of JUTC buses. Justin Graham has more.
Amid concerns about the significant reduction in the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC buses, the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services is reassuring commuters that they are fully prepared for the new school term. This as opposition spokesman on transport, Michael Phillips, recently predicted chaos for commuters who depend on JUTC buses when the new school year begins on Monday. TOD's president, Ejita Newman, asserts that despite the odds, the private investors will be able to step up.
We share with the general public today our readiness for back to school, dubbed Ready for the Road. We believe that the 320,000 seats that we have in the private public transport sector are ready to take our students, teachers, and the other commuting public to and from.
Newman says while there are challenges, the operators are dedicated to provide service to the people.
Despite the odds, despite what we are going through, no loans, fuel costs rise to the pinnacle, the dollar is out of whack with us. We are saying we try our best, we borrow, we beg to have our bus and our taxis on the road come the 5th of September. That's all we are saying. We are ready.
The president is, however, calling on the government to fulfill its promises made to the operators.
You promise us a revolving loan. Let us have it now, today. You promise us fuel, $25,000. Let us have it. Reopen the portal. We understand there's only 3,600 persons going to get it. It was 25,000 people for $600 million. Only 90 million is being provided. That is not good. And we are saying, tell the nation the real cost of travel.
He's further calling for a fare increase in short order as they prepare themselves for the return of full face-to-face learning since 2020. Justin Graham reporting for CVM Live.
Now to this CVM Live story. A mother is questioning the Education Ministry's motto, every child can learn, every child must learn, as she says her son, who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, isn't being offered the opportunity to learn. She says he has been denied by several schools due to his illness. Consequently, she's calling on the ministry to intervene. Our reporter Veronique Bowen has more.
With less than a week remaining until schools reopen, 7-year-old Robin Smith, who was born with a cerebral palsy, will be left behind due to what his mother believes is discrimination on the part of the education system. The boy's mother, Shamoy Morrison, says most schools are refusing to accept her son, while the others are requiring him to wait 2 to 3 years before he can be enrolled. Robin, who based on his age should be entering the 2nd grade, has never seen the inside of a primary school classroom.
Ministry of Education motto is that every child has the right to learn and every child has the right to education, but yet still my child is home not going to school. They also advised me that I should try a private institution, and what I told them that I cannot afford a private institution because I am a single mother. They're still telling me that I have to wait.
Although he's informally homeschooled, Morrison insists Robin is competent enough to be in the official school system.
My son wants to be a doctor, and right now this what's happening is saying to him that, he has no purpose, he has no future. No one is really there but me trying to get an extended hand to, really shed light on the situation. He wants to learn.
Morrison says she's often mistaken as being careless, as community members believe she opts not to enroll him in school. However, she says this affects her emotionally, as all she wants is to give her son a chance to earn an education.
Just assume that I don't want to send him to school when I've tried to reach multiple resources of him going to school, but yet still each time I've been turned down.
CVM Live reached out to Education Minister Favour Williams, who has assured she will look into the matter. Veronique Bowen for CVM Live.
State Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Xavier Main, is hitting back this evening following recent reports of violence towards correctional officers. One correctional officer was found dead recently and 2 staff buses fired on by gunmen recently. He says such acts of aggression towards members will not be tolerated. Justin Graham reports.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, CVM, says that the gunmen's attack on officers from the Department of Correctional Services cannot go unchallenged and is now in the hands of the police. Since the gun attack on Saturday, the DCS has increased its threat level alert for staff members after a second attack while traveling during execution of duties. Reports from the staff officers who were on duty are that the vehicle driven by a correctional officer and accompanied by an escort transported staff members to St. Catherine and was returning to the Horizon Remand Adult Center when gunmen opened fire on the vehicle in the vicinity of Spanish Town Road Examination Depot at about 2 in the morning. The officers were able to return fire and safely made their way to the remand center. The incident was then reported to the Hunts Bay Police. Maine is hoping the investigation will reap some reward.
By virtue of what transpired, the police have taken over. They are investigating, and we hope that at the end of the day, good will come of the investigation.
The minister is warning youngsters that such acts of aggression against employees of the state will not be tolerated.
Criminals should know that when you take it onto yourself to engage the government, officers of the government, they are properly trained, they have sufficient weaponry, equipment, and in keeping with their training, when they are brought under attack, they will respond. So my word of caution to any such gunman, cease and desist, because we will respond and we will respond decisively.
August of 2022, members of the public discovered the body of 38-year-old missing correctional officer Shannon David Briscoe in a gully in Seaview Gardens, St. Andrew. He had worked at the Horizon Adult Remand Center in Kingston and was killed while off duty. Justin Graham, reporting for CVM Live.
A construction worker was shot and killed at his home in St. Thomas last night. The man has been identified as 55-year-old Hopton Robinson, popularly known as Nene. We have the details with Veronique Bowen.
The St. Thomas police are probing the circumstances under which 55-year-old Hopton Robinson was shot and killed outside his home in Catholic Lane, Yallas, St. Thomas, Thursday night. Reports are that at about 7:40 p.m., Robinson was taking a shower in an outside bathroom in his yard when he was attacked by armed men. The unknown assailants opened fire, hitting Robinson all over. He later succumbed to the gunshot wounds. His nephew, who spoke to him just a few minutes before his death, tells our news team he heard the gunshots, but he hoped it wasn't his uncle.
I was outside in my lane sitting on a chair when my uncle rode up on a bicycle. So he was asking how I was doing and everything, and he asked me a few questions about animals because we are good farmers as well. And we were having a short conversation, and afterwards he rode off to go home, which is at the back of the yard. So I went inside to my father, we were having a conversation, and shortly after, I heard 2 gunshots fire. I heard someone bawling for murder. So I called back to my uncle to see if he was okay. I got no response. A barrage of gunshots fired again. After the gunshots basically reside, I went outside, I saw my uncle lying face down on the ground, right at his outside bathroom, gasping for his life. And that's where he took his last breath.
He says he cannot understand why anyone would want to harm Robinson, as he describes him as a man who has always stayed out of trouble.
He was a construction worker, a very humble, jovial person. I never heard of this man being in a conflict or in a contention with anyone. He has no children, so we can't say this was a reprisal for some actions of his child.
CVM Live understands that the men escaped on motorcycles. The incident has shaken up the community, as residents say they're fearful this will become a pattern. Veronique Bowen for CVM Live.
Now, amid the upsurge of crime in Greenville, Manchester, the police have started an intervention by conducting a walkthrough and implementing security measures. Our news team spoke with the head of the Manchester Police. We have more from Javine McLean.
Following the shooting death of a businessman in Greenville, Manchester, Thursday, the Manchester Police have made a concerted effort to engage the community. Thursday's killing has brought the murder tally in the community to 3 this year. Superintendent of Police for the Manchester Police, Shane McCullough, says the recent crimes have prompted the police to apply more focus on the area.
We had planned our community walkthrough, which was planned from 2 weeks ago as part of our response to some recent incidents that took place in this space. And it's so unfortunate that the 2 things coincided this morning, but we are still pushing on with the community walkthrough, and we are still pushing on with speaking to the MP the church, other interest groups, other social interventions, individuals to see how best we can bring back that level of normalcy to this particular space.
Citizen engagement and social buy-in is critical to the objective. He notes security measures will be put in place to help calm off some of the anxiety currently being faced by residents.
And we as the police, we do not enjoy the concept of having a community basically with such stringent type of security measures. However, at this time, there are going to be some measures that everybody might not be comfortable with. The shops will have to be closed at a particular time and so forth, but we just ask citizens, the law-abiding citizens, to work with us as we get the space back to somewhere where everybody can come back out and enjoy themselves.
Roy Delro of Power of God Ministries International recognized that the once peaceful retirement communities of the parish may be rapidly losing their appeal.
It is not going well, especially in Manchester, to see return residents come to Jamaica, want to have a peaceful life, and they have to rush back to the country that they work so hard to come back to their own country to survive. Now they're locking up their houses, running back to foreign land because they're not comfortable in their own country where they're born and grow.
Javine McLean, CVM Live.
Now for a look at regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. The Ministry of Education in St. Lucia says despite some minor hiccups, the Ministry of Education is poised for a very smooth and successful reopening of school, slated to begin on Monday, September 5. More from HTS News Force.
We would have rolled out our summer works program where the ministry would have spent in excess of $3 million to rehabilitate the school plants across the country. As much as possible, we tried to provide students and teachers with as comfortable an environment in which to operate. And it is for this reason we spent no effort to ensure that we went into every single school plant, looked at the issues, and we were able to work very closely with principals and school administrators.
Still in the region, Tropical Storm Daniel strengthened into a hurricane on Friday, the first of a relatively quiet 2022 Atlantic season. The storm, which became a hurricane just before 10:50 a.m. Friday, does not present an immediate threat to land. The storm was about 885 miles west of the Azores in the North Atlantic and was slowly drifting east at 1 mile per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center, which expects it to meander through the open water for the next few days. The storm had maximum sustained winds near 75 miles per hour. Daniel reached tropical storm strength on Thursday morning, only the fourth such storm this year, and strengthened quickly throughout the day. Forecasters are also watching two other disturbances in the Atlantic, one that was several hundred miles east of the Leeward Islands in the Caribbean, and one near the Cabo Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa. On the international scene, Argentina's Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner has dodged an assassination attempt outside of her home in Buenos Aires. The Vice President was greeting supporters outside her home in Argentina when she was confronted with a gun held to her face. A man has been detained following the incident on Thursday. Here's Al Jazeera.
Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner was greeting supporters outside her home in Argentina when she was confronted with a gun held to her face. The vice president ducked, witnesses screaming. Kirchner was returning from court when the ordeal happened. The former president is a divisive figure in Argentina and is in the midst of a corruption trial. She denies the charges.
This is the most serious event we have gone through since Argentina returned to democracy. Cristina remains alive because of a reason that is yet to be confirmed technically. The weapon that had 5 bullets did not fire despite being triggered.
The man holding the gun was grabbed by some of her supporters and detained. He is believed to be a Brazilian in support of the far right.
One of the media organizations without confirmation says that he had swastika tattooed in his arm. And he's also liked many far-right websites, including something called demoniac evil communism and things like that.
That's regional and international news. I'm Javine McLean.
Stand by now for the Izizi lottery draw. And our Friday sports feature is the Winner's Edge.
Jockey Dane Dawkins and trainer Jason DaCosta are in pole position to win their maiden championship in their respective sections at Caymanas Park. Dawkins won both feature races on the weekend at Caymanas Park. His first was on Saturday in the She's a Man-Eater Trophy, astride Ian Prasad's Jordan Reigns.
The final furlong beginning to skitter away from She's My Destiny. Eroy in the orange and brown racing on the outside, but it is Jordan Reigns opening up what could be an unstoppable advantage inside the final 16th. It's Jordan Reigns and Dane Dawkins. He'll have his second win and he wins the feature, the She's a Man-Eater Trophy.
He was equally impressive in landing the O&S Tackroom Trophy over 1,300 meters on Sunday for trainer Richard Azan aboard Power Ranking.
Luxol right there too. Yellowstone coming with a late charge. It's Power Ranking in front and not stopping. Power Ranking goes on to beat Yellowstone, Luxol and 31 Kisses.
Dawkins leads the Jockeys Championship with 72 winners, 7 clear of former champion Anthony Thomas, while Tevin Foster is a distant third on 40. Trainer Jason DaCosta, who is in his first full season at Caymanas Park after taking over from his father, the late Wayne DaCosta, in March of 2021, is set to dethrone three-time defending champion Anthony Nunes. With stakes earnings of $41.6 million, DaCosta leads Nunes by $6 million. Gary Sobrati, Patrick Lynch and Ian Prasad complete the top 5. The owners section could not have been any closer, with just over $500,000 separating champion Carlton Watson and the Oak Ridge Farms. Watson leads with $14.7 million to the Oak Ridge Farms' $14.19. Ham Stables continue to lead the breeding section ahead of Ian Prasad and YS 1955 Limited. Everglades and Orange Valley completed the top 5. In the meantime, the Winston Fanner Griffiths Trophy is the big event on Saturday at Caymanas Park. 8 will go postward for the 1,900-meter event, named in honor of the Caribbean's all-time leading rider with 1,664 winners. Griffiths, who is currently pursuing a career as a racehorse trainer, has won the Jockeys Championship 5 times, including 4 straight, 1978 to 1981, and 1995. A world record 11 Derby winners are included in his world record 44 Classic winners.
Well, this is what I want to say to SVRL. I really want to thank them so much for what they have done for me and for them to really recognize me, to really put a name in my name. I really want to say thanks to them, and I really appreciate it a lot.
Let's now relive Griffiths winning the first Derby aboard Royal Dad back in 1981.
He begins to sprint away from them. Winston Griffiths will land his first Derby this afternoon. Royal Dad becomes a super horse in Jamaica. He wins it over the boss and forceful native.
And now for a panel discussion, I'll join Dr. Spence at the main desk.
Tonight, we'll look at the increasing relevance of satellite technologies and their implications for Jamaica. To discuss these issues and more, we are joined by Dr. Louis Ray Harris, who is a lecturer in the Faculty of Science and Technology at UWI-Mona, and Professor Norman Fitzcoy, who is an associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Aerospace Engineering at the University of Florida. Welcome, gentlemen, to both of you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle is a lawyer. I'm a political scientist. So you are going to be talking to us tonight, and we are going to be talking to you about an area we are not at all familiar with. So we'll start off by asking you, when we talk about satellite technology, what are we talking about?
Well, good evening, everyone. When we talk about satellite technology, we're talking about a technology that has enabled us to reach parts of the globe with information that would not have been possible otherwise. It's a technology that goes beyond the terrestrial or land-based technologies, such as your traditional fiber or cable, even your mobile communications. Those are terrestrial because they rely on communicating between transmitters that are on Earth and end users who have mobile phones. So satellite really is like a relay station or an eye in the sky that
can take that information if it's sent up at the right, there's certain parameters like power, frequency, and so on, and then it's relayed, because the higher you go, the more you can see, the greater is the footprint on the Earth. So, in a nutshell, that's it.
Dr. Fitzcoy, Professor Fitzcoy, could you explain to us what you think is the greatest possibility in satellite technology for this generation? What is it that you think that is likely to be some of the biggest benefits from use of satellite technology?
That's a very, very broad question to answer.
Make it as narrow as you can in answering it.
The simplest thing we can say is we are currently benefiting from satellite technologies. You watch your TV, that's satellite technologies, right? Communications between different countries, typically that's the case. Your banking typically uses satellite technology. So basically everything that we do on a daily basis, somehow, somewhere, involves that satellite technology. It's integrated fully into the things we do.
So in other words then, Jamaica is now benefiting from using satellite technology would it be in our day-to-day existence, in how we do business, in how we manage our day-to-day lives?
Yes, yes, it has been.
Anyone?
It has been. It has been for some time now, and I think there are newer applications that are beginning to that can utilize satellites, and we're still discovering more. So that's it. Professor Fitzcoy.
Right. Professor Fitzcoy, where next is satellite technology, is the use of satellite technology likely to take us in terms of how we communicate and how we do business and just generally how the world will operate?
There are folks who are looking at using satellite technologies for day-to-day communications. The real issue there is simply the power that's required to do that and the availability of systems to make that happen. So there are folks who are currently looking at making that happen at lower power. It is to be proven. It's not proven at this time. So yeah, I think that's probably the simplest thing I can say.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will continue our discussion as we discover more about satellite communication and satellite technologies. We'll be right back.